I'd like to talk to you about the difference between the Black Death and Ebola and which one of those is the worst. But the diseases are the worst case in a human life. Those are cases that make you feel weak and prevent you from doing things that you need and or want to do. Some symptoms like the cold, headache, and fever can make you feel weak but alive. While other type of symptoms like cancer and Alzheimer's disease can kill you, not just make you feel weak. Life or death, you would wish that you were never sick at all those symptoms. But there are two other diseases that can kill you that are way worse. The Black Death and Ebola are two of the worst ones. But the only question is, which one is the worst, though? Let's compare and contrast between these two. The Black Death was a tragic plague in Europe. It began in the 1350s in Europe. It began in Europe, then spread throughout Asia and Africa. Though it actually came from the Black Sea, according to History.com. The symptoms were very disturbing and bad. According to History.com and an Italian poet named Giovanni Boccaccio, the symptoms involved the blood and pus set out of these strange swellings, which were followed by a host of other unpleasant symptoms: fevers, chills, vomiting, diarrhea, terrible aches and pains, and, in short order, death. A lot of people died when infected by the plague. According to History.com, 75 million lives were lost during the Black Death. Not only that, but close to 1/3 of the population were infected. How big was it in comparison, you ask? Probably the same number of deaths that took place during the American Civil War. Good news, though. The plague doesn't exist anymore, but the next one still does. Ebola is another disease that can kill you in an instant. Just like the Black Death, it has a history. According to web.stanford.edu, it began in Sudan and Zaire in 1976. 380 people were infected, which was 88% of the country in that time. Just like the symptoms were just as bad as the Black Death. According to a box that I found on Google.com, the website was unknown. The symptoms were fever, head pain, muscle pain, and chills. Later, a person may deal with internal bleeding, resulting to vomiting and coughing blood. Unlike the Black Death, Ebola was involved in the U.S. According to NAJM.org, 85% of Americans were infected with Ebola before 2014. It was half the population, and it was number 3 in the top 3 urgent health problems in the world. The other two were cancer and heart disease. How big was it in comparison, you ask? Probably about the same deaths that took place on 9/11. It still exists, though. Very unfortunate. The Black Death and Ebola are two of the worst, but there's a difference in both of them to determine which one of them is the worst. The Black Death had 8 symptoms, 1 being disturbing, while Ebola has 7 symptoms, 2 being disturbing. While the Black Death killed 1/3 of the population, Ebola killed half of the population. The Black Death no longer exists. Well,